Welcome to another deadline stream for FPL, this time out of Gameweek 31, and the plan is to also do a deadline stream for UCL Fantasy once again on the Tuesday, and I will be back in the UK by the time we get to the next FPL deadline, but I literally land on the same day, so no promises about whether that'll go ahead, but I'll try my absolute best. Let's focus on the today and now though. In Gameweek 31, I've made 2 free transfers, the exact same as I talked about in my team selection video. Nathan Ake has come in for Ben Chilwell to facilitate the move for Erling Haaland up front, and I'm not going to go another week without the Norwegian. I've got the free in my back pocket to use in Gameweek 32, and also in terms of the resolution, because for the Tuesday stream I had to stream in 360 quality. I have been able to do 720p so far in this one. Hopefully it runs smoothly. I did some tests before going live, but it won't be the usual 1080p resolution because for some reason since Tuesday the internet has dropped by levels of 100 basically, which is kind of bizarre to say the least. But at least hopefully we can get this stream done and we can go through your questions and comments, cover all the key topics ahead of the Gameweek 31 deadline, which is tomorrow. But I am streaming right now because of the time difference. Let's get straight into your questions. Welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. The live chat is quite busy, so I'll try my best to get through everything. And welcome, Largo. Good to see you. JP says, what are the thoughts in Argentina about McAllister? I'm hearing he might leave to go to a bigger club. Yeah, so he is linked to quite a few like Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal. I think most Argentinians would like to see him go to Arsenal, Man City, and also there's some clamour for him to go to Liverpool as well and be one of the difference makers to their midfield. Yeah, he's quite highly rated, especially since the World Cup. Before that, I don't think he was that highly rated. A lot of people, including myself, thought that Argentina's hopes of winning the World Cup would have diminished quite significantly because Lo Celso was integral to the midfield. He's also the best one to connect to Messi, but McAllister did a great job in his stead, played his own game, and he's now seen in a much better light since the World Cup. I can see Clueless Frank rotating, and Villa have been solid in defence, really 50-50. Yeah, that is true, JP. And with Ben Chilwell, I was quite happy to sell him in my own situation, and I also would recommend it to most people because even if you delay that move for another week or so, I still think Chilwell and Chelsea won't keep a clean sheet here against Brighton. Matoma on the bench for me, says Lager. That is very interesting. I definitely wouldn't recommend that. I'd start him if you can. I mean, you could point towards him blanking against Spurs, but then again, he probably should have gotten a haul in that game after everything that happened. Welcome to Bill. Sub Dylan, I have 2 free transfers, best replacements for Shaw and Rashford. Already have a Stupinian, Trippier and Saka. I think Shaw has a chance of featuring this weekend. And whilst Rashford won't be available, most likely this weekend, I think he will be by the time we get to Gameweek 33. So if you've got the free hit, you don't need to sell Rashford or Shaw necessarily. But if you want a replacement for both of them, I think I would go for a Man City defender like Nathan Ake in for Shaw. And for Rashford, I'd probably go to Grealish. Welcome, Sudindra. Hey, Dylan, thoughts on Chilwell and Rashford to Trent and Martinelli for a -4? So I did say this. I would sell Chilwell to Trent, but I'm not so sure if I'd do it for a hit. In my opinion, Liverpool will concede to Leeds, and if you look at their away record, it would point towards that. Liverpool's only home defeat this season in the Premier League was against Leeds, and whilst I back Liverpool to win the game, I still think they will concede that goal. So is a -4 hit worth it from Chilwell to Trent? I don't think so this week, personally. Now, do I like Rashford to Martinelli? Yes, I do, especially for the next few weeks. And if you don't have a free in 32, that's a really good transfer. But yeah, fair enough, you're going to free in 34. But yeah, I'm not so sure if I'd do it for a -4 hit this week, Sindra. Welcome. Hey Dylan, best replacement for Rashford if I already have Grealish? Good question. If you already have Grealish, I think I would just go to an Arsenal midfielder if you don't have the free hit. If you do have the free hit, then I'd probably look elsewhere and still go to a Brighton midfielder. I really like them this week. McAllister, March, Matoma. Any one of those would be fine, but I don't know who you have or don't have already, so it's kind of difficult for me to answer. And ideally, I would keep Rashford, to be honest. JP says start 2 of Watkins, Isak and McAllister. Now, that is a tough one. I think I would go for Watkins and probably Isak, actually. Yeah. Close one, though. Chilwell, Maddison out, Borro, Martinelli, have Saka or save the hit. I'd save the hit. I think selling Chilwell and Maddison's fine, but you're bringing in Borro, and I think there are better defenders out there. And also with Spurs, they've got a bit of a fixture swing now. And after the Bournemouth game, where Borro could obviously haul, They face the likes of Man United at home in Game Week 33. They face Newcastle and Liverpool away. And I don't see clean sheets in any of those games. Spurs have been very poor defensively all season. Whilst I like Martinelli and he's a big upgrade on Maddison, I wouldn't do Borro in for Chilwell. If you were to take a hit, Kata, I think that's fine. I would just go for another defender instead of Borro, like Nathan Ake, for example. How about best replacements for Chilwell below 6 million? I'd probably go to a Man City defender. I know Ruben Dias has just hit 6 million, so you're looking at Nathan Ake or John Stones, a Kanji even. I'd probably go for Nathan Ake, and other defenders will probably include a Stupinian still. So yeah, I'd say Nathan Ake or a Stupinian. Welcome Shepherd. I just transferred out cash to White and Rashford to Grealish. I like those moves, to be honest. Whilst I don't see many clean sheets for Arsenal from now until the end of the season, I think a lot has to do with Saliba, who could be back fairly soon, but he won't be available this weekend against West Ham. That's confirmed by Mikel Arteta. You're really looking at games like Southampton at home, where Arsenal are most likely to keep a clean sheet. But oddly enough, it's the away games where Arsenal have been keeping the bulk of those clean sheets there. Rashford to Grealish looks great for the time being. The reason why I haven't gone for Grealish myself, by the way, is because it probably prevents me from getting Salah in, and I'd rather get him than Trent Alexander-Arnold in the defence. I would have to sell double Game Week 34 midfielder like March, Matoma, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, or Grealish if I brought him in to get Salah. So that's the reason I haven't gone for Grealish, but I would recommend him for a lot of people, especially if you can still find a way to get Salah without compromising a double Game Week 34 midfielder. So those moves look pretty good. I definitely think that, but why I'm a bit unsure about Shepherd. So Liam says, hello Dylan, bench Watkins or McAllister? I'd bench McAllister. Newcastle conceded many chances against Brentford last weekend. Should have conceded more goals. And I think Watkins, with the form he's in, he's only blanked once in the last 7-8 games. He's been in terrific form. I can't go against him. So I'd go for Ollie Watkins. Thank you, Mr. Iceman. I appreciate it. And another question here. Best replacement for Chilwell. I think we just covered that. So hopefully you got it. Hey Dylan, bench one. Watkins, Zinchenko, Botman, or Estupinian, says ZX. I think I'd bench Botman. It's quite a close one. I'm guessing you have Trippier already. I'd bench Botman, I think. Yeah, I heard that, Shepherd. I heard that about Hakimi. Adil says, hello, Dylan. How have you been? I've been pretty good. What about you? Yeah, not ideal, Lager. Ideally, I would kind of, let's say, trim it down all the time, but I just can't be asked. But I appreciate it, Lager. Thank you very much. Ashley says, hey, Dylan, short to Ake or Stones for a -4 hit? I'd go to Ake, but I have a feeling Shaw could be available and he could start against Nottingham Forest. And United have a very good record against them this season. I think they've won 3 times. Obviously, they faced each other in the Carabao Cup semi-final. The problem with Man United is that Lisandro Martinez is probably out for the rest of the season. The injury has been confirmed. You also have Varane, who's a doubt, and it could be a bit of a makeshift defence. And Man United, away from home, have been a completely different side to our Old Trafford. But yeah, I would probably go to Ake if you were to pick one of them. Now, Stones is the one that I think, if he starts, he's the better option compared to Ake in terms of bonus points and attacking threat. But my issue is minutes and his injury record, and because of that, I would just go for Nathan Ake. Thank you, Jay, for the shout-out. I appreciate it. I have Trippier, Zinchenko, Stupinian, and me. Choose one in the bench and Grealish in place of Odegaard or Rashford. I'd rather sell Odegaard and keep Rashford. This week, Odegaard will play, Rashford won't. So in the short term, it makes sense to sell Rashford, but ideally, I'd keep him and I'd sell Odegaard. In terms of who to bench, I'd probably look at Stupinian from those 4. Yeah. Let's see what else we have. Wow, we're very far behind in the chat, so I'm going to try whiz through these. Siesta stream today. Are we napping, drinking, or both? I literally just napped, so you could say it's a siesta stream. Maybe drinking later. I mean, I don't know. I'll try to be a bit more careful. I honestly don't know anything, Stephen. I don't watch that. Same says, Game Week 31, Chilwell, Rashford out, Borro, Martinelli in, Salah, Jesus in, Saka, Haaland out in Game Week 32. I like those plans, but once again, I'm not a big fan of Pedro Porro. I think he's the most exciting Spurs defender, that's for sure. I just don't trust Spurs defensively, and you're only really getting, I'd say, 1 clean sheet over the next few games, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that, by the way. I just prefer other defenders over Pedro Porro, but if you don't have the free hit, it does make sense why you go for him over someone like Nathan Ake there. The moves are good, let me just say it that way, but you probably will get Rashford back in around Game Week 33 or 34, and I don't like Pedro Porro. Start Chilwell or Stupinian? Good question. I do back Brighton a little bit more for the win here, so I think I might even go for Stupinian. Sell Henry or Zinchenko for Ake. I would rather sell Henry and keep Zinchenko if you can. Is it worth doing Raya to Edison and Maddison to Grealish for a -4? Is it worth a -4 hit? I would say no, because you're making a goalkeeper transfer there. And I think Brentford have a decent chance of a clean sheet against Wolves. I think Maddison to Grealish is enough. You don't need to take a hit to Edison. I don't think it's worth it. Hey Dylan, I need your opinion. I have a dilemma for Gameweek 31. Should I take Grealish for Maddison or Bruno to Salah and Maddison to Andreas for -4? I will free in 32. I would just do Grealish in for Maddison, personally. I think that would be the best. Yeah, I think that's the best move for you this week. No creo que vaya bien para mí esta semana. No tengo Kane. Y es difícil a veces tener todos los mejores jugadores de una jornada. Yo no tenía a Haaland de la semana pasada y mira lo que pasó. Pero para mí puedes hacer un buen trabajo sin Harry Kane. No es esencial y también Tottenham es medio pelo a veces y Bournemouth son competitivos en estas semanas. Sí, obviamente preferías tener Kane, pero para mí no es el fin del mundo, digamos. Maddison to Grealish or KDB? I'd go to Grealish at this moment in time. Who do you start, Andreas or Estupinian? I'd start Estupinian. Rashford to Grealish or Martinelli? I have a free hit. Yeah, because you have the free hit there, Rami, and for most people I'd recommend using in 32, I'd rather go to Grealish. And then you can free hit Martinelli in 32. Thoughts on Mahrez? Good for this week, not good in the long term, especially when Foden returns. So he's not someone I'd buy with a kind of, let's say, a long-term plan. Welcome, Sebastian. Hi, Dylan, my team. Raya, Trippier, Stones, Trent, March, Matoma, Saka, Martinelli, Kane, Haaland, and Watkins. Transfers were Chilwell to Trent and Maddison to Martinelli. Don't have free hits, so 9 players in 32. That looks pretty solid. I think you're not missing out on anyone necessarily this week. Just a few concerns about if Stones starts or not. It could be Kyle Walker coming in against Leicester, but really that looks like a really solid squad, and you've got a decent base for Gameweek 32. Welcome, Patrick. Would you start Chilwell or Stupinian next week or this week? Estupinian. Not sure Chilwell starts and Chelsea don't score. Yeah, and also I think Brighton will get a goal here. They obviously won 4-1 in the reverse fixture, but I would back Brighton a little bit more, and because of that, I'd go for the Ecuadorian. I'm not sure what's for dinner tonight, JP. Probably more meat. It's a lot of carne in Argentina. For Gameweek 32, Rashford plus Haaland to Salah and Darwin, or Rashford plus Haaland to Salah plus Solanke. Gameweek 33, I'm doing Kane to Haaland. Yeah, I think for 32 that looks good. And you can always obviously bring Haaland back in the following week. So yeah, I actually think that looks pretty solid. I'd go for the first one, the Salah and Darwin one. I'm not a big fan of Solanke. So as a result, I'd go for the first transfers you mentioned there, Alex. I have Maddison and Rashford and one free transfer. Should I take a -4 and should I keep Shaw? Thank you, Cyan. Big up to India as well. I would just get rid of Maddison and I'd keep Shaw and Rashford if you can there. So I'd do Maddison out to Grealish potentially. I think that's the best move for you. Start Chilwell or Stupinian. I'd go for Stupinian. Rashford to Grealish or Chilwell to Ake will free in 32. I would do Chilwell to Ake because you're freeing in 32 anyway. I know Rashford to Grealish looks good, but you'd also want Rashford back in for 34. So yeah, Chilwell to Ake looks best. Start one of Mitoma, March or Chilwell. I'd go for Mitoma, but it could be either him or March. Jota or Kulusevski, who to start for draft? For draft, probably Kulusevski. Chilwell out to Trent for a -4? No. Because I don't think Liverpool keep a clean sheet. And whilst I don't think Chelsea do either, and they'll probably concede more than Liverpool, I don't think it's worth a -4 necessarily. In 34, Kane out, Salah in for 10 double game week players. That looks pretty good. And thank you very much. Actually, because I saw a comment earlier saying the weather must be great here. It actually dropped like 2 days ago. So it's a bit cloudy. It's a bit more cold. It's only for like a jumper or jacket. It's not that cold, but yeah, it was literally boiling 3 or 4 days ago, and now it's completely changed. Aleph says, free hitting in 32, want to take a -4 to getting Grealish for Maddison and Trent for Chilwell. I like Grealish in for Maddison. I personally want to do Trent in for Chilwell this week. I would just say that for 32, and because you're freeing in 32, you could just delay that to 33 or 34. I don't think you need to take a hit for Trent. If you're really confident of Trent getting a clean sheet and or attack and return, fair enough, but I personally don't, share that sentiment. Yeah, I'm pretty much back in the UK next week. Literally on the day that we have the deadline stream on the Friday. So it's going to be a bit chaotic. I'm going to try to get a nap in and have everything prepared before and try to be ready. But I can't make a guarantee because it takes so much out of you traveling for like 27 hours. If I don't sell Chilwell to Trent, who else can I buy? Free hitting of 34, already have Botman, Me, Zinchenko, Chilwell, and have Raya, Trippier starting. Well, who else you can buy? Well, since you're free hitting of 34, you don't necessarily need a Man City defender. And look, I'm not saying don't buy Trent. My problem is taking a hit for him this week. That is my issue. If it's for free, go for it. I think it's definitely worth it in the long term, but I'm a bit worried about a hit from Chilwell to Trent when I don't expect either team to keep a clean sheet. Hey Dylan, with City most likely getting into the semis of UCL, is Grealish a good idea long term? I still think Grealish is one of the most nailed-on players and attackers for Man City, but it could be a Mara situation once again where he's playing, 5-6 games in a row, starting, getting 90 minutes, and then he's benched. It can happen, but I would expect Grealish to start all but one game from now until the end of the season in the Premier League. He's very important to how they attack and how they play. Start Kepa or Steele? Probably Steele. But I saw some comments about the Zerbi, which doesn't fill me with confidence about, some problems with the team and some things to clarify, including the goalkeeper. I think Mahrez will start, but I'm not a big fan of Mahrez long term. So I think he starts here in 31. I don't think he does in 33, 34, etc. Welcome, Harry. Free hitting next week, then wildcarding, so can afford a pun or two this game week. Your suggestions? Anyone bar Kane. If you can count Grealish as a differential or a pun, I would maybe recommend him. I would also consider someone like Trent. Salah, of course. The problem is Liverpool away from home are just a completely different side to how they are at Anfield. But I think I'd target Man City players if you can. You know what? I think a really good one-week punt, and it's risky, but I think if it pays off, it could be great for you, is Mahrez. So I'd say apart from Grealish, Riyad Mahrez is a really good one. Steele over Kepa? I think so. And thank you, Sayan. Do you think Chelsea are finished? Look, football works in cycles. A few years ago, Arsenal were finished, and they were for quite some time, and now they're looking decent. Things change very quickly, and I think with the level of spending Chelsea have, once they get a clear direction and plan and employ the right people as the sporting director and, set things out very well, Chelsea could easily be back in a few years' time. But, for this year, I'd say Chelsea are finished. I don't see them finishing in the top four. They're pretty much done in the Champions League. So yeah, this season I'd say they're finished, but it won't be a long-term thing. Start Shaw over one of Chilwell, Trippier, Henry. It would be Henry. Actually, sod that. It'd be over Chilwell. I think I'd start Trippier, Henry, and Shaw for you. Si todo bien, Sefer, y vos. Gracias por preguntar. Sell Tony or Maddison to afford Salah? Maddison, for sure. Tony's a far better option. The only problem with him is the suspension, which we always talk about. Is a place, I'm guessing as a Palace player, good to bring in? They've looked really good in the last two games. Looked very offensive, which sounds crazy. The thing is with Palace, I'm still very wary about them. The fixtures aren't necessarily the best. I mean, they're pretty decent, but I'm not really expecting them to, let's say, go on an absolute winning run and be very reliable assets in the long term. But Zaha's always someone to look at. Olise could be a decent cheap midfielder, and you're maybe looking at a defender. But yeah, I'm not really keen on Palace still. But Raya and Me, yeah, I'm not against that. I think they can keep a clean sheet against Wolves. So who's the pen taker for Man City? The pen taker for Man City, it'll be Erling Haaland. It's as simple as that. Would you keep Havertz further if you had him? No, I'd sell him. Honestly, I'd sell him. Which players' price are going to rise and drop tonight? We can cover that very soon. But I'm pretty sure Grealish is one of those that could go up yet again in price. And I appreciate that. And really good stuff there. Fantastic rank in Malaysia there, Sudindra. Hopefully you can push on. If you're on a wild card, what would your team look like? If I was on a wild card, I would get rid of Rashford for Grealish for the time being. I'd maybe risk keeping Shaw, but that obviously is depending on whether you think he starts this weekend or not. I think the goalkeepers would change. So maybe I would go for Edison, Alisson, or De Gea, one of those. And I think if you don't have a free hit to use in 32, I'd go for Alisson. The front three would be the same for now. Then in around, let's say, 2-3 weeks' time, you'd probably downgrade Kane to then fund Salah in the midfield. But yeah, I think those would be the main changes. Also, Saka could be another one to offload, but he could also do extremely well this week. But I'd rather have Martinelli at this moment in time. And of course, Ben Mee is another one. So yeah, Stupinian in for Ben Mee too. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're looking at. Having a triple up in Man City potentially as well. So yeah, 4 or 5 changes, not too much from what you see on screen at the moment. Starting Dress or Estupinian, I'd go for Estupinian. Would you do Havertz and Castagna to Vinicius, Solanke plus Trent for a hit, free hit 32? I'm not expecting a clean sheet for Liverpool, but then again, with Leicester, they could probably concede 3 or 4. I would not be surprised if Castagna gets minus points this week. Would I do that for a hit? I don't think I would. It's not a bad hit. It's not bad transfers. I just don't think I'd do that. Not a big fan of Vinicius or Solanke necessarily at the moment. Mahrez or Grealish? Long-term Grealish, no doubt about it. For this week, I'd probably favour Mahrez. Bruno plus Maddison to Grealish and Salah for a -4. Yeah, I think it's worth it. The thing is with Bruno, you'd probably want him back in. And also bear in mind with Bruno, Casemiro is back in the team. And if Eriksen starts, Bruno will be playing in a more advanced position and he could do extremely well. Do you think there's any chance Brighton have been robbed on purpose? I'm a bit cynical about referees, so my answer would be yes. I think it could be on purpose and they want to spice things up in terms of the top 4 race between Liverpool, Spurs, and Man United. I think that is definitely possible. Also Newcastle, of course. There's plenty of examples throughout the years about certain teams being favoured or certain games having shocking officiating. You've got VAR there, so there's no excuse in my opinion. I forgot to mention Odegaard in my bench. 1 is Stupinian, Zinchenko, Watkins, Botman. It'd be the same. I'd bench either Stupinian or Botman, and I'd probably bench Botman. I thought Mahrez is first choice penalty taker. The thing is, if he starts, yes, he has a chance of taking the penalty, but I also would back Haaland, I think, to take the penalty. I think Haaland's first, then it'd be Mahrez, and then probably De Bruyne. Is Malacia a good shout? I think Shaw will be available very soon, and it could even be this week. I don't like Malacia personally. He was awful yesterday against Sevilla, scored the own goal to top things off, so I don't think he's a good shout personally. Now, with Lisandro and with other injury problems to Man United, there could be a situation where Shaw plays centre-back and Malacia left-back, but I don't think Malacia is safe long-term. I'd rather go elsewhere. Who to bring in for Maddison? Only have 1 transfer. I'd say Grealish, if you want someone a bit more longer term. As a 1-week punt, and then you're wildcarding in the following week or in Gameweek 33, then maybe Mahrez would be the one to take a punt on. Of the following, which 2 do I start? Pretty much from those 3, I'd bench March, but it could go either way. I'd definitely start Watkins and 1 Brighton midfielder, and I'd probably give Matoma the edge, but March obviously has the capabilities of outscoring him. Start Chilwell, me, or Estupinian. From those 3, I think I'd go for Ben Mee. He has the best chance of a clean sheet. Out of those 3, I would start Matoma, but you could go for either midfielder. Trent or Chilwell? Trent, but I wouldn't take a hit for him. My transfer's already done. I've brought in Erling Haaland for Tony, and I brought in Nathan Ake for Chilwell to fund the move. Sell Kepa to Iverson. I have Raya or White to Ake. I would not do that for a hit, the goalkeeper move, but Kepa to Iverson to fund other moves looks decent. And White to Ake, yeah, I think that looks pretty solid. That would be my preference if you can make a transfer this week. I think City will keep a clean sheet against Leicester, and whilst Arsenal have a chance against West Ham, it's less likely. Sell Rashford is an option. Of course it's an option, especially if you don't have a free hit to use in 32, but if you have the free hit, I would most likely recommend keeping Rashford. Start Estupinian or White? Probably White. I think he's got a better chance of a clean sheet. Replacement for Maddison, have Matoma, March, Rashford and Saka. Probably Grealish. Now, I don't suddenly think Grealish is amazing and he's going to get 12 pointers every game, but he has improved in recent games, and since the World Cup, there's been a bit of an improvement in terms of his numbers and also his goal scoring. But I think with Grealish, the main appeal is the fact that he's nailed on. He will start all but maybe 1 game from now until the end of the season, and he's also connecting very well with the other attackers. Stones or Ake? I've gone for Ake myself, and the reason why is because of minutes, and he's also less injury prone than John Stones. Now, do I think John Stones will get more bonus points and attacking returns? Yes, I do. But I also think he could be benched more often, and he could even be subbed out a bit earlier than Ake, especially when there's a congested fixture schedule, which we'll have over the next month or so for Man City. I'm going to wildcard in 33-34, so get Mahrez now easy. Yeah, he's a good 1-week punt, in my opinion. I think he will start. And then you free hit maybe in 32, then wildcard in 33. That's absolutely fine. Jesus, Shaw, Robertson and Patterson, or Martial, Zinchenko, Trent and Ake on the wildcard. It'd be the second quartet. I'm not a huge fan of Martial. I know he played really well yesterday, and United have a very good record when he starts, but the problem with Martial is minutes and injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked up another injury, unfortunately, from now until the end of the season. I think I would go for the second quartet, but then again, You can make a case for the other one as well. It's really close. I think what separates it is Patterson. I think that's kind of the main downgrade from those two. Shaw start or bench? I think he starts, but honestly, it all depends on his fitness, and I don't know enough about it. Best forward under 7.5 million apart from Watkins, Isak. Should I take a -4 for water steal? Don't take hits for goalkeepers. As bad as Chelsea are, you still wouldn't completely rule them out for at least one goal against Brighton. And even if Brighton keep a clean sheet, it's just, I'm not so sure if it's worth a hit. Like the stream, guys. Thank you, Sophia. And yeah, Robert, we're in agreement there about Isak. Pelekta says, 1 free transfer with about 2 in the bank and got Grealish in as a punt last game week. It worked out, but I'm now considering next best move. Plan to get rid of Chilwell for Ake or take a Manasseh and get Salah in. I wouldn't take a Manasseh to get Salah in personally. I would just get Nathan Ake, if anything. I don't know the rest of your team though, so it's hard for me to comment about specific transfers. But from those you mentioned, I would go for Nathan Ake in for Chilwell. What are your thoughts on Real Madrid Chelsea game? I think Madrid played pretty well. They should have scored more goals. But I also think Madrid, funnily enough, were there for the taking. I think Chelsea, maybe the Chelsea of last season or a few years ago, would have nicked the goal there, maybe hung in to a 2-1 or something like that. But yeah, I think Madrid are the better team. The quality showed through. And with Chelsea, I just feel for Enzo Fernandez every time he plays. And now another extension to his contract. He's going to be there for the next 10 years. I do feel for him, but he has some solace there. Will Isak start tomorrow? It's tough to tell with Isak and Callum Wilson's situation, but I think he will. But it's very tough to kind of guess that. Ramsdale for the rest of the season, thoughts? Not a bad option. The reason why I probably wouldn't go for him is because he has no double game weeks, and whilst he features in blank game week 32, you could still go for someone else like Alisson instead. And Arsenal, I just don't see too many clean sheets there. In all the fixtures, I don't think Arsenal keep a clean sheet against Newcastle away, Man City away, probably Brighton at home. I don't see a clean sheet. The games where I maybe expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet in would be West Ham away, Southampton at home, and Chelsea at home. But apart from that, I don't really see it. Isak or Martial on the wild card? Isak. Don't have the funds for Haaland, so who to captain, Saka or Martinelli? On the current form and also the record against West Ham, I'd probably favour Martinelli a little bit more. He's got 3 goals in 5 games against the Hammers, and I think he's returned in his last 3 games against them. Bench order, it would be March 1st, me 2nd, and Stupinian 3rd. So hopefully you got that. Diogo says, what do you think about sacrificing gimmick 32 if you don't have free hit? If I think I can field 8 to 9 and get like minus 10, 15 points of the safety score, I can get those points and even more by planning for 33 and ahead. The thing is, I see Gimmick 32 as a potentially low-scoring game week. If you lose out on 10, 15 points on the rest, that could be quite significant. I always say this, if you can, don't sacrifice one week for another. I know there's more upside to a double game week in 34, so that might be your priority, but I wouldn't sacrifice 32 necessarily. I don't think 8 or 9 players is that bad, by the way. As long as you have the key assets, you should be fine. And I don't think you will necessarily be 10 or 15 points down on the normal safety score, for example. Start me or Maddison. Probably Ben me. I don't see Leicester scoring. Look, there could be a managerial bounce, but I just don't see it. Grealish for captaincy. I wouldn't... Look, I recommend him as a transfer this week, but I wouldn't captain him. Let me put it that way. Is holding Tony till Gimmick 34 viable? Yeah, it is viable, so long as he stays suspension-free. But I need to get an Arsenal asset at least, says Diogo. Yeah, I think right now Martinelli's the one. Hold Rashford or transfer out? I'd hold. The only reason I'd sell him is if you don't have the free hit to use in 32, and you need a midfielder for that, that game week, sorry. So I would hold him in most cases. Start one of Zinchenko, Botman, or me. From those 3, I'd probably start Zinchenko. I think Arsenal and Brentford have a similar chance of a clean sheet, probably more than Newcastle this week. Already starting Ryan Trippier. I'd probably go for Zinchenko. I got rid of Rashford and Stupinian for Van Dijk and Martinelli, no free hit left. Had to trim down on blanking players in 32, so Stupinian got taken out for Van Dijk, who plays in 32 and doubles in 34. Yeah, that looks pretty sensible. I think Van Dijk could be a decent option in the home games, but in the away matches, I just don't really expect a Liverpool clean sheet. Everyone thinks City will walk it versus Leicester, just never learns from history. What history is that though, mate? I mean, for me, City are going to wipe the floor with Leicester. Maybe there's a element of jinxing there. Why have people gone so negative for Chilwell? Yeah, he's not suspended for the Premier League, but Chelsea are just awful. And I've already got Kepa as a Balaga. And in my situation, I needed a way to fund the Haaland move. And the easiest way was to downgrade Chilwell. And Man City will keep more clean sheets from now until the end of the season than Chelsea. And Chilwell could still be rotated in other games. So I'm quite happy to sell him, to be honest. Martinelli in for Rashford. I'm planning to free in 34. Yes, I think that looks pretty decent. Yeah, I think that looks fine. I brought in Stones last week. Feel like he's likely going to be subbed if they keep the same formation and play CDM again. Should I keep Stones or sell to Chilwell? I will not get Chilwell in, personally. I don't think Chilwell's suddenly an awful option, but I don't see a clean sheet against Brighton. They also have to face some really tough... I think they've got Man United away, Arsenal away, and they've got a few other tricky fixtures like that from now until the end of the season. They've also got City. Yeah, I'd just stay clear of Chilwell. If you've got one Chelsea defender already, that's more than enough. Martinelli captain instead of Haaland? No. Do I think Martinelli's a decent captaincy option? Yes. And if West Ham defend the same way they did against Newcastle, they'll concede 5 again against Arsenal. But I don't see that being the case. I think they'll be a bit more careful, a bit more defensively organised and structured. And I think they'll give Arsenal less space. So I'd probably go for Haaland there. 3-5-2 of Mahrez or 3-4-3 of Nunez. 3-5-2 of Mahrez. As a one-week punt, yeah. And you're free in 32. That looks pretty fine. Yeah, I'd probably go for Mahrez as a 3-5-2. I get Ake in for Chilwell. Play Ake or Stupinian. I play Ake. I also did the same move as well. Hey Dylan, I'm free in 34, so should I sell Rashford and Shaw? I'd be more open to selling them, yes. And yeah, I think that looks fine. So maybe you could do Rashford to Martinelli or you could go to Grealish. But I think in your case, it made more sense to go to an Arsenal midfielder because obviously they feature in 32 and Man United don't. I support Arsenal from the Premier League and I also support an Argentinian team, which you probably won't recognise. I've already used my wildcard in Gameweek 26, so no wildcard left. I've only got the free hit, which I'll use in 32. I have 2 free transfers this week, says H, with the ability to have 11 starters in Gameweek 32. Always hallmarked Gameweek 32 as the week to use my free hit, but I think I could go for in 34 instead. Thoughts? That's fine. But it's not just about quantity, it's about the quality of players. But if you can get 11 good starters in 32, then why not use the free hit in 34? Or even another game week that you might not have thought about, like Gameweek 38. Later down the line, which premiums are you going to own for the season? I think in Gameweek 34, the plan is to downgrade Kane and get Salah. So the premiums I'd have would be Fernandes, Salah, and Haaland. The thing is, though, with how consistent Kane is, I'd even consider keeping him. But that's obviously something to think about when we get to that time. Abraham says, would you get rid of Rashford to bring in Martinelli and keep Maddison also for Gameweek 32, no free hit? Yeah, because obviously Rashford will probably miss out this week. No game in 32, so it is worth selling him, and I'd probably go for Martinelli. Maddison is a bit of a tricky one. I'm not a big fan of Leicester at the moment. Unless there's a managerial bounce, I'd be very wary about Maddison and any Leicester asset. But yeah, I think I would get rid of Rashford and bring in Martinelli in that situation. Havertz, me and Rashford out. Kane, Trent and Jensen in -4. Looks good. But to be quite frank with you, I think Brentford have a better chance for clean sheet than Liverpool. So I wouldn't take the -4 hit for Trent. Yeah, so I'd get Kane and Jensen for 2 free transfers. I would not get in Trent for -4. I just delay that move for another week. So probably you're looking at Gameweek 32, 33. Best replacement for Chilwell below 86 million. For me, okay, I think we've answered this question already. I'll try not to, if I've answered a question, I'm not going to go for it again, just so, we don't have a repetitive stream. Highland and thoughts on Maddison, Havertz and Chilwell out for Salah, Trent and Greenwood for a -8. I personally wouldn't do it. You're free hitting in 32 anyway. I wouldn't do it. Liverpool are awful away from home, let's not forget. I find it silly that we don't keep our free transfer if we roll it into a free hit. Yeah, but that's just the way the game goes. I think UCL Fantasy is similar with the Limitless and Wildcard. So we might as well just use the transfers. Best Man City defender for Chilwell? For me, Nathan Ake. Who to play, Botman, Chilwell or Stupinian? Probably Stupinian. Rashford to Martinelli, I'm free hitting in 34. Yeah, I'd probably do that. Yeah, Coop Dog, it is an early stream, but I'm not able to stream tomorrow at the usual time because it'd be 5 a.m. here. What are your thoughts on Grealish long-term minutes with Foden expected back very soon? I think Foden being back isn't a big issue for Grealish. If anything, it's more of an issue for Mahrez or the right-hand side. Most people are buying him for 34, but he's likely to only play 1 game. Look, I think Grealish could be benched in 1 or 2 games from now until the end of the season, but I think he starts most, and that's the most important thing. Kepa, White, Trippier, Stupinian, Saka, Martinelli, March, Grealish, Kane, Haaland, Tony. Is this okay? It definitely is. Kepa's the only one that I would probably expect to blank, but the rest looks very solid. Sell Fernandes and buy Salah for a -4? No, I wouldn't do that. Unless you have no free M32, then I'd consider it, but even then, I'd probably hold. Would you hold Saka Martinelli for the rest of the season? I think one's enough, Wei saying. A double up's not a bad idea, and they're two of the highest scoring midfielders for a reason, but yeah, I'd go for one. Bench one. From those three, I think I'd bench March. Ben me to DS for a -4? No. No, I wouldn't do that. No concern about Leicester manager bounce? No chance. Dean Smith has lost all 6 of his games against Man City. Man City are in the form of their life. They've only dropped... Actually, no. In 2023, I don't think they've dropped a single point at home. And the only 2 times they've dropped points at home in the whole campaign were against Everton and Brentford. There's no chance for Leicester, in my opinion. Best replacement for Chilwell below 6 million? I've already covered that. Do you think with the end of the season looming? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, Ryan, we've answered that question, trying to spam the chat. Me to Stones? Yes, but only for free. And also bear in mind that Stones is a bit of a problem, potentially. He's not the most nailed on Man City defender, let's put it that way. Don't have money for Trent or Robertson, so is Konate a decent alternative for Gameweek 31 and 32? Yes, I think he is. And if you can afford Van Dijk, even better, of course, but I'm guessing you can't. Hey, I have Saka and a free transfer that will go away due to a free hit. Trying to decide between a safe City asset, maybe Gundogan for Prem, or Martinelli. I could sell Kane for future Salah, but not worth it right now. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't sell Kane to Salah right now. I think Kane outscores him. The thing is, I'd still probably just go for a Grealish or a Mahrez instead of Gundogan if you want a Man City asset. And if you want someone safer, it'd be Grealish. Free F32 says, Keith, thoughts on taking out Kane and Rashford for Salah and Greenwood? Have Watkins, Haaland, Bruno, 2 Brighton and Grealish around 300k, so chasing a little. I will not take out Kane this week. It makes no sense whatsoever. Those moves of Salah and Greenwood in for Kane and Rashford would look good in 34, but even then, Rashford will probably be back by then. So honestly, I wouldn't do it. Definitely don't sell Kane this week. I just don't think it's worth it. Do you think with 7 game weeks left, if you're chasing your leagues, you need to be a bit less template? Look, there's no clear answer to this. Yes, you'd want to have maybe 1 or 2 differentials if possible, or maybe go against the grain in terms of captaincy, which can work out at times, but there's no, winning formula, something that will always work every single week, because sometimes if you go against Haaland captain, for example, you can go down in rank quite drastically, especially this week when pretty much everyone's going to captain him. So it can work both ways, basically. I will just keep playing your own game, be slow and steady. I experienced the biggest kind of rank gains from Gameweek 17 to 21 this season by being quite steady and just going for who I thought scored the most points in terms of captaincy and bringing in players that I really like, not just for the long term, but also for the next 3 or 4 game weeks in front of me. So I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong there, and you don't need to just go differential for the sake of it. Who to play, Botman, Chilwell, or Stupinian? I think we covered that, but once again, I'd probably go for Stupinian. Yeah, Jensen's been very good recently. I think he's got around 30 points in his last 5 games, something like that. I support Rosario Central. So in Rosario, there's 2 teams, News Old Boys and Rosario Central. I support the one in yellow and blue. Who do you think is the biggest club in the country? It's between Boca Juniors and River Plate. There's also an element of corruption with those two, which I don't want to get into too much, but yeah, they're the 2 biggest in the country and probably across the whole continent as well. Who should I transfer out for Haaland among Jesus, Kane and Watkins? Yeah, from those 3, I'd be most willing to sell Jesus. Is Ederson the best goalkeeper for the run-in? He's up there, but I'd also make a case for Alisson and also for De Gea. White, Mings or Botman? Currently got Chilwell, Trippier, White. From those 3, the one I'd like to start this week would be White. Let's see. Do you think Benfica Napoli will come back? I think Napoli will, Benfica won't. Sell Kepa or Raya for Ederson? I'd rather sell Kepa at the moment. Sell Chilwell and Rashford for Ake and Martinelli. I'm going to free in 34. Yes, I'd do that. Haaland in for Watkins or Tony? It'd be for Tony. With the form Watkins is in, I can't say sell him. Best replacement for Chilwell below 6 million. Gonna 3 and 32. Okay, I think I've covered this already. Dylan, is Chilwell to Shaw or Estupiñán -4 a good idea? No, because Shaw is a doubt to start this weekend. Estupiñán's facing Chelsea away, where I'm not expecting a clean sheet. I think Brighton will probably get a draw or win, but I don't see them keeping a clean sheet necessarily, so I wouldn't take a -4 hit. Why am I playing Raya over Kepa? I think Raya's a better chance for a clean sheet. I think Brighton will score, and whilst Wolves could score against Brentford, I'd be more confident of a clean sheet there for Brentford, so I'm going to go with Raya. Tarkovsky or Trippier? Trippier. Sell White to Ake or sell Kepa to Iverson to free funds and play White? I'd sell White to Ake, but playing White is fine, honestly. Sell or hold Rashford if free hitting in 32? If you're free hitting in 32, I'd keep Rashford for sure. Thank you, Eduardinho. Do I bench Bruno Fernandes or March? I'd still bench March, but a lot depends on who starts for Man United over the weekend. If it's Eriksen and Casemiro, I'd definitely be confident in Bruno Fernandes. If not, I'd be a bit worried. Welcome, Dave. Yeah, don't even mention power cuts around here. Literally, I think the first full day I was here, there was a power cut. And it's possible it can happen during the stream, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen. But yeah, it's good to see you here. Do you think Henry to Ake is a good move? Yes, but I don't think you need to make it this week. I think Brentford have a decent chance of a clean sheet. Thank you, 404th Trooper. White versus Estupiñán versus Chilwell start. Chilwell. Chilwell. I don't know why I said that. White is the one I'd start. Is Fernandes a good captain? No. Because there's so many doubts about if Eriksen and Casemiro will both start. I think Casemiro obviously will, but with Eriksen, there's no guarantee. If it's Sabitzer, it could be him in the more advanced role with Bruno Fernandes helping with ball progression. So, not so sure about Fernandes as a captaincy option. I wouldn't go for it. Saka to Grealish worth it? I don't think I'd do it. Not a bad move, especially in the long term, but I'd keep Saka. No one talks about Kane captain? No, we've talked about it before. He's a great option, but I wouldn't go against Haaland this week. With how bad Leicester are and Man City's form, I just can't make a case for it. Do you think Salah and Trent are very good options for 34? Yes, I think they are very good options, but are they absolutely essential? Not necessarily. If I had to pick one, it'd be Salah. But I'm not expecting 2 clean sheets out of 2 for Liverpool, despite both games being at home. 3 and 34, 37. Depends on your team, Mr. Iceman, but I think for most people, I'd say 34 looks best. I have triple Brian and 1 from each Manchester team. Yeah, maybe 34. If you do not have Kane and restructuring required with hits to get him, will it be worth it? I wouldn't take hits to get Kane in this week, especially if it's -8 or more, because Spurs have a bit of a fixture swing soon, and you'd probably want Salah from Gameweek 33 onwards. Mings or Moreno? Mings. Thoughts on Pedro Porro from Spurs? Not a big fan, because Spurs have some tough fixtures now. I know they face Bournemouth now, and that looks pretty good, but I actually think Spurs will concede. And I also see some really tough games where I don't see any clean sheets. So you're looking at Man United away. Man United at home, Liverpool away, Newcastle away. So yeah, I'm not that optimistic about Spurs defensively anyway. Kepa plus Steele owners, do we sell Kepa and for who? Cheap Leicester goalkeeper to free cash? That could be a concern because of De Zerbi's comments about Steele. Not necessarily Steele, should I say, but in terms of some doubts about the Brighton squad. He was also talking about the goalkeepers, where there's also a few things to think about, he said. But, you know, assuming Steele is going to be nailed on from now till the end of the season, he's enough. And I think Kepa to a Leicester goalkeeper's fine, but just don't expect clean sheets for Leicester. It's just really a budget option to fund other moves. And also with Steele blanking in 32, you need someone to feature in 32, and, you know, I'm not that confident about Leicester. Any Argentinian hidden gems you know in the Argentinian league? Well, one that just left the Argentinian league and is at Brighton is Buonanotte. He was at Rosario Central, and he's a very good prospect. So I know he's not in the league now, but he's one to look out for. He's already in the Premier League, technically. I think he got an assist in his last FA Cup start. I think Vélez is someone I've watched plenty of in Rosario Central. He's a striker, so he could be someone else to look at. I'm not really, watching the other teams so much like River Plate. I'm sure they have someone of interest, but yeah, I'd say Vélez currently. Thank you, Maken. I appreciate it. I speak Spanish at home. I'm currently in Argentina. That's where my family are from. So I always speak Spanish at home, but my English remains far better. Would you start Shaw? Yes, that's what I'm doing right now. Like I said already, Harsh Deep, no, he's not a good captaincy option in my opinion. Too many doubts about, other circumstances and how that affects his positioning. I wouldn't do it. Is Ederson really the best goalkeeper to buy? Yeah, but it's about clean sheets and also fixtures, and Man City have plenty of good fixtures coming up. He's not my favourite though. I'd actually rather go for Alisson, especially if you have no free hit to use in 32. Best 5 midfielders for double Gameweek 34. Salah, Mitoma, Rashford, if he's fit. Maybe Grealish and Bruno Fernandes. I think that would be my 5. When do you think Rashford will be back? For the FA Cup semi-final. So Gameweek 32, I'm very confident he'll be available for 33 against Tottenham. Konate in for Chilwell and Eze in for Maddison. Pretty decent. I don't expect a clean sheet for Liverpool this week. It's just those home games where they could get some. And as for Eze in, he's been in good form, same with Elise, but yeah, I'm not so sure. I'd rather go for other midfielders personally, like Grealish. My transfers are Haaland and Ake in for Chilwell and Tony. Do you think Benfica Napoli will come back? I think we did cover this already, Wei Seng. I think Napoli will come back. I don't think Benfica will. Higher chance of a clean sheet for Brentford or Newcastle assets? Brentford. Would you rather do Henry to Ake or Saka to Grealish? Henry to Ake. Were you tempted to bring in Grealish this week? Yes, but the reason I didn't do it is because it would mean selling one of March, Mitoma, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, or Grealish himself if I brought him in, to get Salah in 34, and remember, all 5 of those have a double in 34. So I thought for my team situation, it made more sense to get a defender from Man City instead of Grealish. I think Grealish will start, by the way, but if he starts, so be it. I'm just worried that if I bring in Grealish for Saka and Rashford is fit, I don't have space for Salah. Exactly the exact reason why I didn't bring in Grealish for my situation there, JR. And yeah, Trent is so expensive, and Liverpool aren't that great defensively either. I haven't recovered from last week. I captained Salah, who missed a penalty, and over Darwin, who missed one-on-one, from which I should have had a Salah assist. Yeah, Salah should have gotten a big haul. Arsenal, after the first 35 minutes, dropped in level so much. Liverpool put great pressure and deserved the draw at the very least. But yeah, I think Salah captains were very unlucky. And, the same goes for those that kept Tony, didn't get Haaland in. Yeah, last week was a bit of a weird one. Son hat-trick incoming. I mean, I think he'll probably score against Bournemouth, but a hat-trick is maybe a bit too far with how his season has gone, to be honest. Do you see Kepa being benched? It's possible, but I think he'll start. Hi Dylan, 3 and 32 or 3 and 34 with 11 players for 32. If you're happy with the 11 players and you think they're of good quality, then I'd probably look at 3 at 34. Best gaming to activate triple captain? Probably 34 on Haaland or Rashford, and I'd probably go for Haaland. Ake or Diaz? Ake. I think that price difference is enough to go for the Dutchman instead. Start Stupinian over Chilwell? Yes, I would do that. Captain on Kane would do better? Potentially, but I back Haaland to score more points. And maybe I'm just trying to jinx him. Maybe that's the plan. What to do with Odegaard? I'm happy to keep him for another week, to be fair, but with a free transfer, going to Grealish is definitely a good move. It just depends on your situation. Good to see you here, Gelia, and good to see someone from Brazil as well. Odds on Shaw starting. I mean, is that 75% chance of starting according to FPL? I'd go for something like that. I'd say a 70% chance of starting. If you had to sell one, would it be Pinnock or Henry? I mean, Pinnock's been the one getting attacking returns recently, but I still prefer Henry a little bit more. There's not much to separate them, to be quite frank. You could just keep Pinnock for his lower ownership and also his goal-scoring threat. Played Shaw or Henry this week? I'd go for Henry. Stuck between 3 at 32 and 34. Also 8 blanking right now, but could get a full 11 with 1 hit by 32. But feel free hit 32 might be better than 34 and 37. Doublers are the same. Yeah, I'd say 32 free is probably better, even in your situation. Yeah, like Lo Celso in Argentina midfield, but somehow he could not live up to the expectation so far. I think for Argentina, he's lived up to the expectation. I think he could have done more at club level. I always said that as soon as he joined Spurs, I thought it was a mistake. And I think the main reason he did is because of Pochettino and maybe a bit of history of Argentinian players there. But yeah, Lo Celso has done extremely well for Argentina whenever he's played. And he's a key part to Scaloni's midfield. And that's why I feared the worst after he got injured for the World Cup. Will Shaw play in 31? I think so, but I can't, say it's a guarantee. Do you think young Argentine talent can compare with the Brazilian talent? Yeah, I think of course they can. I think Brazilian talents get hyped a little bit more And also, generally, they go for bigger market values. But I think Argentinian talents are right up there. I think once, they have the best. For example, the problem with Argentina in the under-20s recently is probably a poor manager, Mascherano, and a lot of the key players like Garnacho not kind of being let go. They're kind of being kept by the clubs, so they can't, go to these tournaments. But I think they're right up there. Also, on Carlos Vinicius, not a big fan personally. I've seen quite a lot of people talking about him, but yeah, I can understand. You're looking for a cheap option. He's not bad. If you're looking for a cheap budget forward, it's not a bad option, but he's not my favourite. You could also consider Brendan Johnson, Ferguson as well, but yeah, ideally I'd go for more expensive forwards like Isak, Watkins, Haaland, Kane. I don't know if Haaland captain, Saka or Martinelli. I'd probably go for Martinelli, but you could go for either. 5 million or below defender, 3 of 32, Akanji, Konate. I'd go for Akanji. Inter's a better team. Well, they're 2-0 up and now they're at home, and Inter have kept the clean sheet in every knockout game so far, just like AC Milan. So yeah, I'm just not expecting Benfica to now score 3 goals at the San Siro without reply. Who would you play in defence, Botman or Estupinian? Estupinian. I don't expect either team to keep a clean sheet, but I think Estupinian has a bit more about him in terms of bonus points and assists. Only have 4.4 million in the bank. Who should I take for a defender? You don't have many options, to be quite frank. I'm probably, a few names are escaping me, but 4.4 million, I'd have to think about that. Mings is decent, but the fixtures aren't great. Islam says, hey Dylan, my midfield is Saka, March, Mitoma, Fernandes and Rashford, and front three is Tony, Watkins, Kane. I think to sell Tony plus midfielder to bring Haaland and a midfielder, who would you advise? Got 2 free transfers. I don't know what budget you're working with in terms of the midfielder, so it's quite tough for me to say, but Grealish would be ideal. Is Haaland essential? I'd say for a -4, yeah. I would bring Haaland in for a -4. A -8 might be a tad too much. Start March or Watkins? Watkins. Good budget attacking defender is Keane from Everton at 4.2 million. Yeah, he could be decent. Not a big fan of the fixtures and of clean sheet prospects, but at that price you can't complain too much. Also Zuma. I want a Man City defender, but I'm still haunted by Pep Roulette. Yeah, I see what you mean, but honestly, I'm also not against jinxing Man City necessarily. So yeah, if they're kind of benched and there's Pep Roulette, no problem. Hopefully they drop some points. I'm thinking Ake, but why did you take Chilwell instead of me? The reason why I got rid of Chilwell is to fund the move to Haaland, because if I did me to Ake, I would not have enough to get Haaland in for Tony. And also, I back me for a clean sheet in Gameweek 31, more so than Chelsea and Chilwell. Start Estupinian, Shaw, or... No, just those two. Shaw. Chill to Trent, Maddison to Salah, and Rashford to Elise for a -4. Yeah, look, it's a good hit. It's good transfers. I don't think Liverpool keep a clean sheet, and I don't think Salah's the best captaincy option this week, but a -4 hit is still worth it. I would personally captain someone else, though. Best Gameweek for bench boost? Gameweek 34. It's the next biggest double of the season. Start Estupinian or Henry? I'd go for Rico Henry. Start Tony or Watkins to Savio? I would go for Watkins. I know Tony has the better fixture, but I can't help but prefer Watkins. What do we know about Shaw and Rashford? Shaw has a chance of featuring this weekend. Rashford, I don't think there's any chance. But Rashford could be available for the second leg against Sevilla next week. So I would expect him to be available for the semi-final against Brighton in the FA Cup and also for Gameweek 33 against Tottenham. What to do with Chilwell and Havertz? I'd definitely sell, and the priority will be to sell Havertz, in my opinion. Do you rate Mings? Yeah, he's a good defender to have. If you're looking for a budget defender, why not? My problem is that the fixtures from now until the end of the season aren't as good as they were in the last five or six game weeks when Mings had some very good fixtures. Almada has a bright future. Yes, he does. He also scored, I think, in the last game against Panama, or 2 games ago now. Yeah, he's got a good, let's say, a high ceiling. Yeah. Jesus, Isak or Martial for this game week? For this game week, it'd probably be Isak, assuming he starts. Are you fritting in 32? Yes, I am. I have Chilwell, Maddison, Rashford and Darwin with 2 free transfers and no free hit tips. I'd sell Maddison and Chilwell, ideally, because Darwin features in 32. You can keep him for that against Nottingham Forest at home. But yeah, I'd sell Chilwell and Maddison personally. You could make a case for keeping Maddison, selling Rashford, but you'd probably want Rashford back in Rodrigo in a few weeks' time. Maddison to Mahrez or Salah? Salah. Mahrez is only a 1-week punt. I think Mahrez outscores Salah this week, but in the long term, Salah's far better. And bench Mitoma. I don't think you should bench Matoma and take a -4 hit for that. Do you back Garnacho for the future? Yes. I think there's a few questions about his attitude, and I think there's still a lot to go. He's quite raw, but he has potential. Planning on doing Grealish in for Maddison. Is it worth doing Rashford out for Martinelli this week? Worth it? Haven't got a free here for 32 and we'll take the points now. Yeah, it is worth it, especially if it's free. And I appreciate the kind words. Best defender for 4.1 million. I mean, who are we talking about here at 4.1 million and below? I'd have to think about that. Start Mitoma or March? Mitoma, but honestly, it's very close either way. Fernandes for Grealish? No, I wouldn't sell either one to buy the other. Start free of March, Mitoma, Tony, Watkins. I'm guessing that's Watkins. I'd start Watkins, Tony, and Mitoma. Same headache as you. Need to bench 2 of Shaw, Trippier, me, Akanji, and Botman. I think Botman plus me / Akanji, Shaw, stuck on the last one. I personally would bench Botman. So, oh, you're already saying that. So yeah, you'd bench Botman, and then the other one to bench from those 3 is probably Ben Mee. The hope would be Akanji either starts or doesn't start at all. Thoughts and Stones? I think he's actually the best Man City defender in terms of bonus points and attacking threat. My problem with him is minutes and injuries, and that's why I went for Ake. Score predictions for this game week? Score predictions for this game week, that's a good question. We can go through that right now and show some different screens too. So, we go here to the fixtures. Aston Villa, Newcastle. Considering the form of both teams, it's quite a tough game to call, but I'd say both teams will score maybe a 1-1. Chelsea, Brighton could be similar, but I might even give Brighton the edge. I'm going to go for a Brighton 2-1. Everton, Fulham, probably 1-0 Everton. Southampton, Crystal Palace, that's a tough game to call. I think Palace will win 2-1. Spurs, Bournemouth, probably 2. I think Bournemouth could nick a goal, but initially I went for a 2-0 Spurs. I might stick to that. Wolves, Brentford. I think I'd go for 2-1 Brentford there. Man City, Leicester. Probably go 4-0 Man City, maybe even 5. West Ham, Arsenal. Maybe 2-0 Arsenal. I'm being quite optimistic there, which I generally am not. Nottingham Forest, Man United. I think because of the problems United have, and Nottingham Forest haven't failed to score a goal at home in the Premier League since Game Week 4 against Spurs, I'd probably give Nottingham Forest a goal. Maybe... Yeah, I might go for a 3-1 Man United, although they have struggled to score goals lately. And Leeds, Liverpool. Ooh, that is a tough game to call. I think Leeds will score. It's just a question of the scoreline. I want to go for another 2-1, but I might in this case. So 2-1 Liverpool. I would not be surprised if Liverpool drew, by the way. I think they will concede. But yeah, that's kind of my general predictions for this week. It gives you an idea of what I'm thinking about. Now let's go to a few other screens, including the fixture difficulty. Liverpool are top, although Man City are still second despite blanking in 32, which goes to show how good some of these fixtures are. Fulham, Palace, Southampton also complete the top 5. If we look at the bottom, Arsenal there are second bottom there. And I think the only reason they aren't bottom is because Chelsea blank in Game Week 32. So yeah, Arsenal, it's not looking too good for them. They've got some very tough games coming up, including Man City away and Newcastle away. Let's not even forget Brighton at home, which is very, very tough. In terms of predicted points, Harry Kane is top, Salah second, Haaland third, Fernandes fourth, and Heung-min Son in fifth. I personally would put Haaland first as the best captaincy option, with Kane second. And then in third place, I would even take a cheeky punt potentially on Riyad Mahrez. And then in terms of the rest of the top 10, Kulusevski, Tony, De Bruyne, Gundogan, and Jack Grealish. But the algorithm is heavily backing Harry Kane here as the highest scoring player in Game Week 31. In terms of price rises, Grealish, Martinelli, and Isak are projected to rise very soon. And you've got a few others there that could go up, like Erling Haaland by the time we get to tomorrow. So by the time we get to Sunday morning. In terms of those going down, Rashford, Almiron, Saliba, Mudryk, and a few others like Nonto there are projected to go down today, if not probably later on across the weekend. But yeah, those are the price rises and falls projected by fplstatistics.co.uk. And one other thing I wanted to show you very quickly was the stats comparison for Grealish. It's not really a big difference, as you're going to see here. So let me just unhighlight this. So between game weeks 20 and 30, so 12 appearances in that time for Grealish. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists, some decent underlying numbers. There's not a huge difference, though, between the first 19 game weeks of the season, where Grealish featured 11 times. Grealish has got 3 more goals. That's obviously a big difference. And 9 more shots on target, higher XG, expected assists, more big chances created, and key passes. But there's not a huge difference all of a sudden. And maybe the main difference would be in the last 4 or 5 game weeks for Jack Grealish, who's really started to kick things up. Still a pretty poor finisher in the grand scheme of things. Still a good option to buy, especially if you want a double Game Week 34 midfielder, should I say, and if you've got the free hit to use in Game Week 32. But let me know, are you buying Jack Grealish in the live chat? And also, if you haven't already, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff. And Daryl asks, is Mahrez a good pick this week? I think so. I think he's going to start. I wouldn't buy him if you want someone long term, though. Who do you bench between March, Watkins, and Tony? Says Stagiu. From those 3, I'd probably bench March. I have Sufal. Let me just get this up again. I'd lost the comment. I have Sufal. My plans to play in 34. If yes, I'd be benching Trippier. Play in 34. I think I'd still play Trippier, Savio. Martinelli or Saka? Definitely Martinelli right now. I don't think Isak starts as Wilson in the reverse fixture. Got 2 goals and 1 assist. Yeah, and also Eddie Howe just loves Callum Wilson. And I think records against a certain team also plays a part in his thinking. That's why Callum Wilson started against West Ham recently. You could be right. I still like Isak though as a third forward, but what I'm looking to do potentially in Game Week 34 is to just get a Greenwood, just a budget striker, and give me the funds to get Salah in midfield. Trent, Robertson, Nunez, which one is good to buy long term? Probably Trent or Robertson, and I'd go for Trent, but either's fine. Best remaining Game Week player for triple captain, Game Week 34 on Erling Haaland, I think is probably the simplest one. Thank you, Animations, I appreciate it. And also the question that Yogesh asked, I would need a -4 for Trent, another 2 or 3 transfers. Yeah, I'd either do Robertson for free this week or get Trent in for free next week if you can. Do you think Nagelsmann's sack was harsh? Yeah, I mean, so far it's not looking good. Bayern are 3-0 down in the Champions League after, winning every single game under Nagelsmann. And they also got knocked out of the German Cup. So, yeah, at the moment, it's not looking like a good decision. They could have waited until the end of the season to do it. You're going to bring in Trent in Game Week 34? I don't think so. It's a possibility, but I don't think I will. Turn it to Haaland for a -4. I think it's worth it. And I appreciate that, JR. Thank you very much for the kind words. And Mali says, Raya or De Gea? It's a close one. Oddly enough, I think I might back Raya a little bit more. If United had a kind of full-strength team and defence, I would give De Gea the edge. Grealish or Elise or Martinelli? This week, I'd probably say Martinelli. Long-term, especially if you've got the free hit to use in 32, you'd probably give the edge to Grealish. So the way I'd rank it, long-term, it'd be Grealish first, Martinelli second, or Elise third. But I think Martinelli is just as good as Grealish, if not better this week. Are you going to sell Kane for Salah in 34? Most likely I will. Do you think a -4 to get Haaland back is worth it? Tony, Rashford out, Haaland, Andreas in. I think a -8 might be a bit too far. And most of the... Sorry, it sounds like I'm crying. Most of the gains you would get from buying Haaland back as part of a -8 will be undone because of it. Yeah, I think Palace could storm them. I would not be surprised if it was 3 or 4-1 as well. I went for a 2-1 prediction there because... Southampton could give them a good game. Already did Maddison to Martinelli. Yeah, I think that's fair. Good transfer. And Maddison and Leicester look pretty woeful at the moment. Start Zinchenko or Chilwell. I would go for Zinchenko. Also, just one thing I want to show you, just for those of you that are asking about my future transfer plans. So in Game Week 33, and this is covered in the team selection video already, what I could do is bring in Estupinian for Ben Mee and start Estupinian here. And I could have a benching dilemma, which includes benching Bukayo Saka, which sounds absolutely crazy, but he is facing Man City away. And in Game Week 34, I could take a -4 hit, bring in Mohamed Salah for Bukayo Saka, and also the other transfer would be Greenwood in for Harry Kane. So really, it's taken a -4 hit to do Kane to Salah. And I think that could be pretty good. I also would have enough to get Trent. I've got 3.6 million left in the bank. But then who do I get rid of? It could be Botman to Trent. That could be pretty good. And then bench Trippier. I'm not so sure if it's worth it. Let me know right now in the live chat, yes or no, if you would do Botman to Alexander-Arnold and then bench Kieran Trippier. Remember, Ake would have a double, Estupinian and Shaw would also have doubles, Rashford should be available by then, and also everyone else has a double. This would be a full 11 almost, bar the goalkeeper having a double game week in 34, and obviously Trent would come in as part of a -8 hit, and I'd bench Trippier, who is at home to Southampton, so I'm not so sure about that one. Best goalkeeper replacement for Steele and Kepa don't have the free hit. Probably Alisson, because he ticks game week 32 very nicely. Yeah, and he also doubles in 34. I think Alisson could be the one for you. Yeah, Lissandra's been ruled out for the rest of the season. Yeah, exactly. But it's also the best case scenario because it could have been an even worse injury. I don't think so. Liverpool away are pretty poor. You know, their record speaks for itself. I think at home, they're one of the best teams in the league, you know, in the top 4. But, yeah, obviously Liverpool on their day can defeat anyone. You know, they showed against Man United. They also came back against Arsenal. They beat Man City at home. But yeah, look, with Liverpool, they've just been so inconsistent, and our opinions on them are reflected because of it. Would you do Chilwell to Trent for a -4? No, I don't think I would. How many Liverpool assets do you think most people will have by 34? I'd say 1 or 2. Yeah, Lago, you're right. I think 2. In terms of how many we should have, I think 2 is enough. You don't need a triple up. Maddison and Rashford to Salah and Grealish, thoughts on a -4? Yeah, it's a good. And look, you might want Rashford back in 34. That's the only thing, but it looks like a good hit. Looks like Grealish's value will rise by 0.3 million this week. So it looks like lots of people are bringing Grealish, yes. But his ownership is still not, you know, it's not going to be absolutely massive. He's not going to be Martinelli levels of ownership, but he is the most popular transfer this week. Still got my triple captain. Thought someone to use it, 34 and Haaland, probably. If you want to go a bit different, and if you want to call it this different, Rashford could be one to consider, but I'd say Haaland and 34. Start Pope or Raya? Raya. Isak or Watkins? Watkins. Grealish in place of Rashford and Ake in place of Chilwell for a -4? I think I would do it. So Rashford, if free hit 34, wildcard 35, concern about value tied up in him. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need him because in 33, he faces Spurs away, 32 he blanks, and he's probably going to miss out this weekend as well. So it makes sense to sell him in your situation. Is Konate worth it? I think with Liverpool defenders, ideally you'd have Van Dijk, Trent or Robertson, but he's a decent alternative. I do prefer other defenders though. Probably Tyrone Mings, Nathan Ake, another Man City defender, Estupinian, Luke Shaw. Even an Arsenal defender is probably a bit better as well. But he's decent. He's not a bad option. Saka to Martinelli or Grealish. Long term it'd be Grealish. But if you don't have a free hit and obviously you need a player for Game Week 32, just go for Martinelli. So it just depends on your team. It's difficult for me to answer some of these questions when I don't know the full context, but I try to provide it in my answers. Is it worth to take a -4 hit to transfer out Saka to Martinelli? No, I don't think so. Sabitzer thoughts? Yeah, obviously scored a brace yesterday. Did really well. Not so sure if I'd buy him in FPL necessarily. I'd still rather have Bruno Fernandes, Shaw, De Gea and Rashford. Rashford to Grealish for a free transfer? Yes. Sell Bruno for Salah in 34 if he keeps playing deeper? Yeah, I agree. I think that would definitely be on the cards. Sold Rashford for Martinelli because I don't have the free hit. That's fair. I think that's a good call for you. Do you think Grealish is just as good as De Bruyne? No. I think De Bruyne is still Man City's best overall player. But in terms of form, yeah, Grealish is in better form and is currently, you know, let's say the better player, you could say. But overall, no, De Bruyne is arguably the best in the league. Odegaard to Grealish and Chilwell to Ake for a -4. Yeah, I think it's worth it. Saka to Grealish, 3 and 32. I don't think I would. I think Saka could outscore Grealish this week. Man United assets worth getting now, considering all of their injuries. I still would go for a double up at least in Game Week 34. But in terms of this week, you don't need a triple or a double up necessarily. Maddison, Rashford to Martinelli, Grealish for a -4 will 3 and 32. Yes, I'd do it. Also Martial for Watkins, no chance. I'd keep Watkins. He's a far better option. Also more reliable. -4 to bring in Mahrez or Grealish for Bruno. As a 1 week punt, I prefer Mahrez, but long term it has to be Grealish for me. So my overall answer would be Grealish. Maddison to Grealish, no hit, or Fernandes and Tony to Haaland and March for a -4, says Genius Gamer. I'd probably go for the -4. Arsenal front three going to smash up West Ham, hopefully. But I think Man City smash up Leicester by even more. Should I do a -4 for Maddison to Salah, Fernandes to Grealish, and Shaw to Bruno? Bueno, sorry. Yes, I think I would. The thing is, Fernandes to Grealish, I'm not so sure about. Because once, Eriksen starts games, you've got Casemiro in there, I think Bruno could do really well. It's just a matter of time. You think Salah's a must-have if I have Rashford, March, Mitoma, Grealish, and Bruno? Not a must-have, but for me, he's probably in the top 2 or 3 options in 34. Any chance Chelsea will come back at home? Yes, but I don't see it happening. I don't think it will. I think Madrid will advance. Kanate is flagged, says Lungani. Yeah, Liverpool have a few issues. I think Alisson's flagged as well. Sabitzer thoughts? Not my favourite Man United option, but I'm obviously impressed by him. He's done pretty well since his loan spell from Bayern Munich. Obviously did very well yesterday against Sevilla, but I still prefer the others, like Rashford, long-term, Shaw, De Gea, and probably Bruno. Best Man City defender outside Diaz, Nathan Ake for me. Yeah, Konate might not play, that is true. What is Ake's ceiling? Probably 6 points, maximum 7. That's the absolute ceiling. I still now have Haaland back. Yeah, I mean, look, I didn't have him last week, and he was probably the main reason why I went down 20, 30,000 in rank. It is very frustrating not owning Haaland. I'd try my best to get him in if you can. Bench Shaw or Chilwell? Chilwell. I'd start Shaw. Start Isak or Watkins? I'd start Watkins. I sold Chilwell for Ake. Yeah, I did the same thing. You think City is the best defence to target? With their doubles in 34 and I think 37, with the great fixtures as well, I think so. The thing is with Man City defenders, they don't have great attacking threat, bonus points potential, and there's also an element of rotation sometimes, but I probably would say Man City defence. Is Chilwell to a Man City defender for a hit worth it? I'm not sure if it's worth it for a hit. I think City will keep a clean sheet, but even then, you maximum get, 2 or 3 points out of that move with a hit included. So it's kind of maybe, I wouldn't say a high risk, but medium risk, low reward, let's say. I go Salah over Grealish this game week, going against the masses. Yeah, look, long term, I think Salah outscores Grealish from now until the end of the season, but there's also a 4-5 million difference in price. I've heard rumours that Alisson is injured. Yeah, he's flagged at the moment. He is a potential doubt. Same with Konate. I mean, look, if he's out, it's not looking too good. It'll be Kelleher in goal. But yeah, look, with Liverpool, I wouldn't target them defensively anyway. Away from home, look, I'm going to try and get it up on screen, or at least read it out to you, because, a lot of people keep on mentioning Liverpool. I know they did very well last week against Arsenal. They've done very well against top teams, but their away record is poor, and they are where they are for a reason. So if we look at the Premier League table, we just try load this up. Hopefully it does very soon. Let me just check the stream health. And by the way, we've got over 100 people watching. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Let's try to rack this stream up to over 100 likes. It'd be massively appreciated. It helps out a lot in the algorithm. So if we check the Premier League right here. So in terms of the away record, Liverpool are 13th in the league. And they've only won 1 of the last 5 games, 2 draws, 2 defeats, 3 wins, 4 draws, 8 losses. They've scored 14, conceded 24 in 15 games. I mean, I don't know how many more times I'm going to say in the stream, but for me, Liverpool away, I'm not confident. The reason why I'm looking at Liverpool assets in 34 is because both games are at home, and of course, it's the double game week. Yeah, I just don't like Liverpool when they're away from home. Very happy to captain Haaland for this double hat-trick this week. I honestly would rather captain Haaland and he blanks and I go down in rank than him getting a double hat-trick, me going up in rank. Obviously, I'm going to prioritize the league over FPL. But yeah, let's wait and see. Thoughts on Elise? Decent cheap option, but when I'm looking at midfielders, the ones I really want are Rashford, a Brian midfielder at least, Grealish, and a few others like that, Martinelli, for example. But he's a decent option. If you're looking for a cheap one, he's one of the better ones at the moment. Bench Bruno or Watkins? At the moment, I'd probably bench Bruno, which sounds crazy. How's Gakpo for a punt? Decent, but as I just mentioned with Liverpool's away record, I wouldn't necessarily buy him this week. If anything, for Gameweek 34. Start Mitchell, Estupinian or Botman. From those 3, it would be Estupinian. Do you think Martial's a good option for 34? He could be, but with Martial, I don't expect him to be fit and start both games and get 90 minutes in both. So that's always going to be a concern. Saka or Fernandes to Grealish? I'd rather sell Saka, but it goes both ways because this week I think Saka outscores Fernandes, but long term I'd rather have Fernandes. Do you still have your wild card? No. I only have my free hit left, and I'm looking to use it in 32. If I had my wild card, I would use it in 33. What do you think about selling Tony and Rashford to Haaland and Andreas? Yes, fine, especially for free. I think that looks pretty good. Tech says start Chilwell Havertz. I mean, I'd usually say Chilwell, but I don't know. It's a really tough one. I think I'll go for Chilwell. Who would you buy Salah for if I have Rashford, Bruno, March, Matoma, Grealish? If Bruno doesn't play in an advanced role from now until Game Week 34, I'd sell him. Otherwise, if he goes back to that position and you've got Eriksen and Casemiro behind him, from those five, I think the one I'd most like to sell would be a Brighton midfielder. But it's just really difficult. I think right now it'd be Bruno. Hi Dylan, when is the best game week to play my last wildcard? I don't know your team, so it's difficult for me to say, but for most people, I'd say Game Week 33. My midfield is Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Grealish, De Bruyne. Any suggestions? I wouldn't have a triple up in Arsenal midfield long term. So what I would do is sell Odegaard to Mitoma in the weeks to come, and you could even sell Saka to Grealish. I think that would look pretty good for you there, Graal. Rashford injury, yeah, he's out for this week. He could be available for the second leg against Sevilla in the Europa League, which would be next Thursday. But Game Week 31, he's out. And of course, he blanks in 32. The difference between Martinez plus Varane and Lindelof Maguire is the difference between Coke and... Coke, I thought you were talking about Spanish, but Coke and saltwater, Shore. Yeah. I mean, look, I still think... Yeah, obviously, Lisandro Martinez will be out for the rest of the season, but Varane could be back very soon, and it could be Shaw playing as a left centre-back, and actually, most of his big returns since the World Cup came when he was as a centre-back, so I'd still keep Shaw, personally. I don't think there's many great alternatives. If we're free hitting next week, do you think we should definitely try to use a transfer? Oh, yeah, because you can't roll the transfer, and you'll have one free transfer in the week following using a free hit, so you might as well use your free transfers if you can. Even if it's, for example, bringing in Stupinian and benching him. Ake is a lot better than Akanji long-term. I want to say he's a lot better, but I think he's a bit more nailed on and slightly better FPL option. Worth a hit over him? I'm not sure if it's worth a hit over him, though. I think I'd just go for Akanji in that case, but I think from the Man City defenders, or the centre-backs, so Akanji, Stones, Ruben Dias and Ake, I think the most likely to be benched this week would be Stones and Akanji. Wilson Trent playing in midfield. I think early in the season, there have been a few cases where Trent was playing this sort of role, like he did against Arsenal as an inverted fullback and playing in the midfield. I think it could suit him, but Liverpool are still going to concede chances, concede goals, and it's not going to solve their issues in the midfield, but it's better than just playing a midfield free of, I don't know, Jones, Fabinho and Henderson and having Trent as a right-back. Any Liverpool forwards good options? Salah's always a good option. In terms of forwards, Darwin Nunez is decent, Gakpo as well, but Salah for me is the one. What goalkeeper to cover De Gea when he blanks for the rest of the season? Alisson would be up there, but he is a doubt for this week. He is currently flagged. Hey Dylan, Saka, Maddison or Rashford to Grealish. I'm free hitting next game week. I would rather sell Maddison this week. Who scores more, Tony and Fernandes? I'd say Tony. Or Haaland and March this game week. Oh, as a duo. Probably because of Haaland alone, I'd say Haaland and March. Would you play me or McAllister? Probably McAllister, but it's a close one. I am considering to go back to my team. I am considering starting Ben Mee over March, but just for the sake of not getting the wrong Brighton midfielder benched, I might just start both of them. Next season will be so much more interesting just because of the prices. Haaland will be 13.5 or 14 million. How to create a team around him. All the key players will go massively up. New chips. I'm not so sure because FPL been a bit conservative recently with chips. Things haven't changed too much. And I think they also want the likes of Haaland to not be too inaccessible. He might be 13 million, but not 13.5 or 14. I personally think Haaland will be 12.5 or 13 as things stand. Grealish or Martinelli? This week, Martinelli. Long-term, probably Grealish. You think Ake is a good option long-term? I think so. He might be benched in 1 or 2 games, but I think he starts most, if not all. Zinchenko versus Trent this season. In terms of, as an overall player, I mean, obviously one's a left back, one's a right back, and yeah, it's still technically a full back, and you can compare them. But for me, Zinchenko has been much better, but both of them are suspect defensively. We do know this. Kepa or Raya? Raya. I've swapped Odegaard to Martinelli. Was that a good idea? Yes, especially for free. I wouldn't have done it for a hit, though. Almiron is coming back. Yeah, there's actually a chance he's going to be back very soon. It could be this weekend. That was Eddie Howe's comments. So if you're looking for a budget midfielder, he could be the one. To what extent does Grealish cover Haaland? Not that well, in my opinion. I still think Haaland is levels above. He is the Man City player to get, and he's also the most nailed-on player. He can play 90 minutes in pretty much every single game, no matter if they play every 3 or 4 days. So as much as Grealish is a decent option right now, I don't think he's enough to cover Haaland. What was your transfer this week? I made 2. I got in Ake in for Chilwell and Haaland in for Tony. The reason why I did Chilwell down to Ake, apart from Man City having a better defence and not expecting a clean sheet for Chelsea, is the fact that I needed funds to get Haaland in for Tony. So if I did, for example, Chilwell to Trent, I wouldn't be able to afford Haaland, period. I wouldn't even be able to afford that move anyway. So I needed to find a way to find the funds for Haaland, and that's what I did. Ake, Grealish, Haaland, Maddison, Tony, or Chilwell. Any of these players changing price tonight? I think Grealish. We covered it earlier in the stream. I think Grealish is the one that's going to go up in price. The rest won't go up yet. So, look, if Grealish doesn't go up in price tonight, it'll be tomorrow after all the transfer activity. I think after tomorrow, where obviously FPL is a UK-centric game, most people will be making their transfers around 9, 10 a.m. UK time. So maybe there could be a player like Haaland going up in price, maybe even Ake as well. But so far, it would be Grealish. Martinelli versus Kvaratskhelia, different players. I don't think you can compare them. Kvaratskhelia is better on the ball. He's more of a creator. Martinelli is a bit quicker. He's also a better goal scorer, more prolific, and can play up front. I wouldn't compare the two. They're completely different players. Is it worth selling a Stupinian to get double Brian mids before double Gameweek 34? Have Steele as the third Brian option. I still like a Stupinian. Now, would I rather have double Brian midfield than double Brian defense? Yes, but I'm not so sure if it's worth a switch necessarily, because it could be a bit of a differential for you. Is still out. I don't think he's out necessarily, but there are a few murmurings. I mean, De Zerbi made a few weird comments about Brighton having some issues, so that could be a possibility, but as things stand, we just have no idea. Martinelli or Rashford? Martinelli this week, because Rashford will be missing out. Long term, I prefer Rashford. When is the next double game week? 34. And we'll also probably have one in 36 and 37. So the two big major double game weeks, so to speak, are 34 and 37. And you'll have a few other smaller ones, like in 36, for example. But 34 is the next one. Must have slightly better TV than me because I'm looking at Tony and Chilwell out for Haaland and Ake, but can only afford a Kanji. Yeah, team value. I was thinking television. I was like, what are you on about? Yeah, I have slightly better, I guess, but I've seen some people easily able to keep Chilwell and just bring Haaland in for Tony. So my team value is actually not that great. Hey Dylan, who to start from Chilwell and Henry? I'd go for Rico Henry. How about Martinelli versus Matoma? I think that's a bit more similar, but yeah, look, it's difficult to compare. I still prefer Martinelli, and I might have a bit of a bias as an Arsenal fan, but I mean, who wouldn't love Matoma? I think Matoma's a more exciting player to watch. He's a bit more, let's say, I don't know, better on the ball, a bit more exciting to watch, but Martinelli is a better goal scorer. Sell White to Ake or Kepa Raya to Edison? I would sell Kepa to Edison from those that you said. Hey Dylan, assuming you're 2 million ranked, should you bench all your highly owned players from now on? No. Because that could include Haaland, it could include Rashford when he's fit. That I wouldn't just go against the grain for the sake of it. And if it goes wrong and these highly owned players fall, you're going to be in big trouble. What to do with James? I'd sell. And the same goes for Chilwell, eventually. You can keep him for one more week. Of course you can, but eventually I'd sell anyway. Thank you. Should I use my bench boost or free hit for double game week 34? Ideally, I'd use the bench boost in 34, and I'd free hit in maybe 32. Or if not, you can free hit in 37 or 38. Best Arsenal attackers to double up on? Yeah, I think you mentioned it there. Saka Martinelli looks good, but I also like the idea of Jesus with the lack of forward options at the moment. So yeah, Jesus and Martinelli. You know what? I'd probably go for that at the moment, considering recent form. It's just difficult to go against Saka, though, and his consistency. I think eventually, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go boring and say Martinelli and Saka, but I do like the idea of Jesus. UCL Limitless transfer, good to use in match day or quarterfinal second leg or the final itself. I'd rather use it in the quarterfinal second leg. I think there's a higher ceiling. And with more teams and big names eliminated, it'll be easier to remain within the budget when we get to the final. So I'd say Limitless now in match day 10. Who do I sell for Haaland, Tony or Watkins? I'd sell Tony. The reason why is because Watkins is in better form. Aston Villa are also in very good form themselves. It looks like it could be quite sustainable. And with Tony, he's one yellow card away from suspension. So I would keep Watkins and sell Tony right now. And that's what I did. Should I sell Maddison or Rashford? Ideally, I'd sell Maddison and keep Rashford free in 32 and then bring Rashford back in for 33 basically in your starting 11. So that would be the ideal scenario. So we have been streaming for around 1 hour, 30 minutes. If you've got any more questions or comments, let me know. We'll be wrapping up very soon. As I said, if you can, try to smash the like button, subscribe for new, all that good stuff. It really helps out in the algorithm. Let me just change this screen as well. So yeah, here we go, back to the usual screen. Let's go for a few more questions. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Making a plan to stream whilst on holiday. Thanks, mate. Thank you, Dave. I'll be back very soon. And there will be one more stream whilst I'm on holiday, which will be on the Tuesday. And yeah, good that this stream has been, I don't want to jinx it, but good that it's been pretty decent so far with 720p quality. Because like I said, the internet has just dropped massively since Tuesday. I'm not so sure why. Trippier versus Watkins. Which result do you prefer in the early kickoff? Watkins, because he's lower owned. Definitely. Should I start Reece James, Mings, or Matoma? From those three, Matoma. Release him for a -4. Depends who you're selling. I don't think I would, though, in most cases. Would you sell Chilwell for Trent this week for a hit? No. Because I don't think Liverpool keep a clean sheet. They've got a -10 goal difference away from home. They're 13th in the league on their travels. I just don't like them when they're away from Anfield. Already did Maddison to Grealish and have just enough money to do so. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Look, long term, I think the hit pays off, and Trent in Game Week 34 looks fantastic. I just don't think it's worth it in Game Week 31 as a hit. Of course, Liverpool assets. Ideally, I'd look to get in Trent and Salah for Game Week 34, and if not, even Alisson's a good goalkeeper to have. Good way of covering Game Week 32 as well. But I wouldn't take hits to get these Liverpool assets this week. Salah's the only one I would consider, but even then, I don't think I'd take a hit for him. Is Stupinian, Botman, Henry who to start? I would start Henry. Haaland, Grealish, Ake in for Tony, Maddison, Chilwell -4. Should I confirm this tonight, as I should be left with 0 million? Yes, because Grealish could go up in price tonight. So I would confirm it before the price rises, which will be around 2 or 3 a.m. UK time. Yeah, I was thinking the same too. Saka just seems a bit too risky to go against with such high ownership. I also think Saka's a more consistent FPL option than Jesus. Bruno stuck in DM. I think once Eriksen starts, Bruno will be a bit more liberated and a bit more further forward. The problem is also Sabitzer. He did very well yesterday in a more advanced role, so that could be a problem with Bruno Fernandes. Thank you, Chosen ZW. Aranya says, hey Dylan, just tuning in. Any players to bring in? Thinking about this week as well as the blank game week. I mean, ideally say a Liverpool player, but I also be very careful with them because I think Leeds could put them to the sword and get a draw or something like that. But I think Salah is a very good one. Yeah, I was going to say Ake and Grealish, but of course they can't cover the blank game week in 32. So it's a bit tricky for you. Maybe an Arsenal player like Martinelli. I'm not so sure if you have him already. Is he have to take a hit for a goalkeeper? No. And you've already got Kepa still anyway. Bruno will play versus Forest, right? Yeah, no, he definitely will play. There's no reason for him to be rested. He's so important to Man United. He starts every single game when available. Best midfielder under 6.2 million. I'd say McAllister's up there. If Almiron's back as well, he's someone else to consider. But yeah, you're mainly looking at Mitoma, McAllister and March. With using transfers on defenders except City for the rest of the season since there's very few clean sheets now, I mean, you could just back the form and go for someone like Mings. He could be decent. There's not many standouts. Zuma's okay, but I'm not expecting that many clean sheets necessarily. And their double is Palace and Man City. And whilst a few weeks ago that Palace fixture looked great, it suddenly looks a bit worse with Roy Hodgson getting a good reaction out of the London club. So I think I'd probably go for Mings, potentially, as a budget option. Sell Chilwell, Botman or Mings? Chilwell. Won't you take a -4 for Rashford to Grealish? I think it could pay off, but I don't think so because I'd want to get Rashford back in a few weeks' time. So it doesn't make sense in my situation. Gameweek 32, your team just plays 7-8 players or chip. I'd play the chip, but if 7-8 players includes if it includes Salah and the best options on Gameweek 32, it's not that bad. But ideally, I would free hit. Who wins this season, Man City or Arsenal? I'll say Arsenal. I hope that's the case. I've said for weeks and since the beginning of the season, for me, Man City win the league, and they are still, more likely with the fixtures they have. I also think they beat Arsenal at the Etihad, but it's all in Arsenal's hands. And if Arsenal get a result, they get a draw at Man City, they can afford to drop points in one or two more games, such as Newcastle away, which will be tough. And I think Man City, with their congested fixture schedule, could drop some points in games you don't expect. Everton away, Brentford away, Brighton as well. Those are 3 games apart from Arsenal where you could see Man City dropping points potentially. I don't see Man City winning every game. They can do it. They've done it once before in 2018-19, but in most cases under Pep Guardiola, they drop points in at least 1 or 2 games, in the last kind of 10 games of the season. Who do you think will score more points, Haaland versus Leicester or Kane versus Bournemouth? That's a good question. I'd say Kane with those 2 fixtures. I think Eriksen might just get a few minutes and save for Europa as Fernandes is suspended for the second leg. Yeah, potentially, but I think Fernandes will still start and get the usual minutes. I can understand what you mean, but I still wouldn't be concerned about Bruno's minutes. I'm concerned about his positioning, if anything. Makes sense to bring in Grealish and Almiron for Maddison and Rodri. Almiron isn't confirmed to be available just yet. It's looking positive. He's going to be back soon, but he might not start in Gameweek 31. I do like the Grealish move, though. I would do Maddison to Grealish. Will you be using the free hit in Gameweek 32? Yes. And by the way, I'm guessing the reason why you're selling Rodri to Almiron is to to free that space for that Man City asset. And in that case, I can understand you. Thank you, Coopsy. I appreciate it, and thank you very much for always tuning in. How many Premier League midfielders is better than Bruno this season? Versatile and important for the team. Well, if we're talking specifically about the Premier League, I think they have been better. Odegaard, Partey, I'd say Xhaka. I know United fans watching will probably be laughing, but I genuinely think that. De Bruyne, Rodri, Casemiro himself has been better. Bruno has been good, but I don't think he's been, let's say, in the top 5 in the Premier League alone. In all competitions, you can make a case that he's up there, but I don't think so. Ake in for Chilwell for a -4? No, I don't think I'd do it for a -4. Because Ake's ceiling is 6-7 points, and you're maximum getting 2 or 3 points out of that move. Long term, it will pay off. But for this week, I'm not so sure. Play free with Raya, Chilwell, Shaw, Trippier, Henry, Botman. So you've got to start Raya, right? So yeah. I'd go for Shaw, Trippier, and Henry. I'm rooting for Martial. Perhaps I'll sell Watkins. I mean, look, Martial's a bit of an exciting pick. He does very well considering his limited minutes, but I wouldn't sell Watkins whatsoever, considering his form. If I bring in Grealish, so who's the downgrade to the bench between this Brian duo? If you're talking about March and Mitoma, I mean, look, I'd start Mitoma a little bit more, but honestly, you could go for either one, and it could backfire no matter who you choose. Who to bench? McAllister, Mitoma, Bruno for Grealish. Probably McAllister, but it could go either way. Worth the double Newcastle defence given the only double versus Brighton. I mean, ideally, I would sell Botman to Trent, but I also already have a pretty good 11 if I bring in Salah and sell Kane in my own team situation. But yeah, double Newcastle defence isn't bad, but I think I'd rather diversify a little bit. So my ideal defence from now until the end of the season will be something like this. Trent, Ake, Estupinian, Trippier, and then you're looking at Luke Shaw. That would be my ideal kind of back 5 if you can afford it. Crystal Palace midfielder, anyone? Probably Elise. Chilwell to Trent or Ake for a -4. I still prefer Ake, but it all depends on your free hit. If you've got a free hit and you're using it in 32, I would go for Ake and then bring Trent on the free hit in 32. So it just depends really on that. Lastly, I don't like captaining players against my club, so I can't captain Haaland. So who should I captain, Salah or Kane? I'd go for Kane. I don't think... So Salah's got a great record against Leeds, but most of his goals have come at Anfield. I think he's only got 1 goal at Ellen Road. I'd go for Kane. So sure with the news of the United injuries now, or keep? I'd still keep, personally. Chilwell to Ake for a -4? No. Worth getting Edison this game for a -4? No. I don't like hits for goalkeepers, and the same applies here. Martinelli and Steele in for Bailey and Kepa -4? Yes, I think it is worth it. Just bear in mind, there's a bit of a doubt about Steele and whether he's going to start. So be aware of that. If you don't have a goalkeeper, that could backfire. And I don't like goalkeeper hits necessarily, but I think Bailey to Martinelli is enough for that to pay off. Yeah, I mean, Fernandes will probably still play more defensive. Yeah, I agree. Trippier and Botman or Pinnock and Henry to start. I wouldn't do a double up of either necessarily. I know you might want to kind of put all your eggs in one basket. I think Brentford have a better chance of a clean sheet than Newcastle this week. So if I had to pick a duo, it would be Pinnock and Henry. But what I would do is Trippier and one Brentford defender. Xhaka better than Bruno? In the Premier League, yes. In my opinion, I think Xhaka's been great all season. Just a few off games here and there. But I think Xhaka's been very, very consistent. A bit underrated. I think Arsenal fans will appreciate him more, but those maybe who don't watch Arsenal week in, week out won't, maybe agree with what I say. Do you think Kepa would keep a spot or Mendy may start? Yeah, Mendy could have a chance of starting, but I think Kepa will keep his spot. Will you burn a transfer or make a move to free hit in 32? I'd make a move. Crystal Palace midfielder, we covered. Rashford to Martinelli and swap back in 33? Yes. Sane versus Martinelli? I mean, I think Sane is the overall better player, but Martinelli has the higher ceiling, that's for sure. And I don't think Sane has reached his potential. Or Shaw to Ake. That looks decent, but I wouldn't do it for a hit. Once again, hits for defenders rarely pay off, especially this season, where apart from Trippier, most defenders have been very inconsistent. Watkins to Jesus for a -4? No, I wouldn't do it. Would you transfer out Kane in order to get Salah for double Game Week 34? I would do that in Game Week 34. I wouldn't do it now. Or even in 33. Short in for Zinchenko, or should I say my transfer? Look, I prefer Shaw, but there's also a doubt about him starting this weekend. I just keep Zinchenko. Mahrez or Grealish? Grealish. If you want someone for 1 week only, and I mean 1 week only, it'd be Mahrez. But long-term, Grealish. He's a safer option. Dalot or Wan-Bissaka? Tough one. Probably Wan-Bissaka, but really, for me, it's just Shaw or nothing from Man United's defenders. Varane out for a few weeks, yeah. Look, even then, you could have a back four of Malacia, Luke Shaw left centre-back, and either Maguire or Lindelof, and then you've got Wan-Bissaka. It's not the worst back four. I know it's not great, but I still like Luke Shaw for Game Week 34. Welcome, John Darren. Good to see you. Where are most of the points potential for the rank gain for the rest of the season? Defence, midfield, or forwards? I don't think defenders. If anything, maybe the forwards. So going for someone like Jesus in certain weeks. It's a tough one, though, because it all depends and it varies week on week. And look, even in the midfield, I know you might say the midfield will be template, but you can still go a bit different, and yeah, apart from, you see the five midfielders I've got on screen, for example. So I've got currently Saka, Mitoma, March, Fernandes and Rashford, but you've also got a few others like Grealish, you've got Salah. Having the kind of a different combination, I think, could play well for you and you can get a good rank rise. It all just depends, really, but yeah, I'd still say most of the games from now to the end of the season will be in the midfield and the forward line. Play Mings or Shaw? Probably Shaw. I'm planning on getting both Salah and Grealish by Game Week 34. Which one should I get this week? This week it'd be Grealish. How'd you rate Gundogan's career? I mean, he's had a good career. He reached the Champions League final with Borussia Dortmund, one with Man City. Not sure if he won the Bundesliga. He might have joined just after, and when Borussia Dortmund finished second and third multiple times. But he's had a great career. Of course he has. It's just the international stage where things haven't really worked out for him. Isak to Jesus for a -4? No, I don't think I'd take a -4 for that. Just sold Rashford for Martinelli. Yeah, I like that. Play 3 Mings, Trippier, Shaw, me, Botman. I would play Trippier, Shaw, and me. So if you've got that, John Darren. Thoughts on Kane to Salah? No chance of that this week. I would do that in Game Week 33 or 34. Would you take a -8 hit this week in double Game Week 34 to bring in more double Game Week players? Yeah, potentially. I'm considering a -8 as well. Most likely I'll take a -4 hit to downgrade Kane to get Salah. But yeah, I think a -8 hit could be worth it. Man United confirms that Sandro Martinez has been ruled out for the remainder of the season after fracturing a metatarsal, should I say? Metatarsal. Yeah, I saw that. So as soon as I heard the injury, the type of injury it was, I knew he was going to be out for the rest of the season. But let's just keep an eye on Varane and how long he's out for. The rumour is a few weeks. Let's wait and see. Yeah, however, the Argentinian defenders are expected to make a full recovery and in time ready for the start of next season. Yeah, exactly that. It's kind of the best case scenario from what could have been even worse. If he had an Achilles, problem or an ACL, it could have impacted the way he recovered, and he might not have become, or how do I say this, remain the same player once returning from injury. Fernandes or Kane out for Salah for future game weeks. If Fernandes doesn't, play in an advanced role soon, by the time we get to game week 34, I would rather sell Fernandes and keep Kane. That's for sure. Still have 11. If I have 10 players for blank game week 32, do you think free hitting in 32 is necessary? Well, no, it wouldn't be necessary, but it also depends on the quality of players. I always say this. Yeah, you might have 10 or 11 players, but do you have like an Andreas Pereira or someone like a bench fodder, for example, when you're starting 11? But if you have most of the key assets covered, that's fine. And you can just save the free hit for 34 or another game week. A 7 million good replacement for Rodri. Grealish might be a little bit above your threshold, unfortunately. I think he's 7.1 million now, but yeah, if you can't afford him, you're maybe looking at a Brighton midfielder once again. What if we use our one free transfer before free hitting in 32? Would that one free transfer be in our team? No. It cancels out. I think Fernandes will play more attacking as he's suspended for the second leg. Martial won't be risked. Eriksen needs minutes before Sevilla. Yeah, but I think Martial will get minutes. It's just not maybe a start, for example. Kepa out to who? Want to use the transfer? If he's fit, Alisson's good because he features in 32, double in 34, and some decent games as well. If not, you're looking at Edison. So I'm looking at Alisson, Edison, or maybe De Gea. What do you think about Captain Salah's differential? I'd love to say, captain someone a bit different, but with Salah, I'm not so sure because I think Leeds will give Liverpool a tough game. Liverpool's away record's awful, and Salah's only got one goal. Yeah, sorry, I think I had a bit of a. Yeah, I've got a bit of the internet has dropped a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to wrap up soon, so yeah, hopefully we can basically complete the stream. But yeah, with Salah, poor away record for Liverpool. He's only got one goal at Ellen Road, and I think Kane, Haaland, and a few others have a higher ceiling. So if you want to go a bit different, I'd go for Kane. I wouldn't go for Salah. Should I sell double Benfica defense plus Mario? I'd sell one defender for sure. I'm not sure if I'd sell both of them though. Yeah. Bruno Fernandes out or no? I'd keep him for now. But if he doesn't play in a more advanced role in the future, by the time we get to game week 34, I'd consider keeping Kane and selling Bruno. Isak to Kane or Watkins to Kane? Isak to Kane. Maddison's such a troll. I mean, to be fair though, Leicester have just been awful. And Maddison has been a bit like this before. He can have a really good run, then get injured. Something just gets in the way of him being a great option in the long term. Also, him to start in the next... Yeah, it's confirmed by Spalletti. He's going to start in match day 10. March or Elise? I still prefer March, to be honest. I think maybe for this week, Elise has a higher ceiling, and he has been really impressive recently, but March is my overall preference. So yeah, I think we have come back, but probably a warning sign to end the stream. Yeah, Leeds just lost 5-1 at home. That is true, but if Liverpool aren't consistent, if they still struggle on their travels, look, I think Liverpool will score. I think they'll win the game, but I also think they'll concede. That's just my personal opinion based on how the season has panned out so far. I'm expecting Liverpool to score probably 2 or 3, but concede 1 or 2 in the process as well. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I appreciate that. All the questions and comments we have covered, all the topics that we need to cover for Game Week 31. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. Let's try to get this stream to over 100 likes. That'd be very much appreciated. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, DylanRCM, and check the links in the description below for the Patreon, channel memberships, Discord server, and the FPL League. And also, if you check out ExpressVPN using my link, you can get 3 months for free. And we have ExpressVPN has live 24-hour support, so you can contact them whenever, cancel your membership, and you have a 30-day money guarantee. So you will be paid back if you decide to maybe spend on a subscription plan, for example, and you're maybe not feeling it, or you change your mind about it, and you can get your money back with that 30-day guarantee. It's unfortunate that towards the end of the stream, we had a bit of lag. That was a bit frustrating. I saw that at the corner of my eye, but there we go. These things can happen. I am on holiday. Hopefully, no more lag in the future streams as well. There's going to be one more stream next week on the Tuesday. That is the plan for UCL Fantasy Match Day 10. And hopefully I can stream for Gameweek 32, that deadline stream, because I'm literally arriving on the same day after a full day of traveling. So let's see how that pans out. Thank you to everyone for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lager. Thank you, Weiseng. I think Mbappe is more explosive. Dave says, cheers, mate. Great work as always. Thank you very much. Is it time to captain differentials? There will be opportunities to go against Haaland and to go a bit differential, but it's a matter of timing and it can go wrong. Of course, we know that. Yeah, this week I'm just going to go for Haaland. I wouldn't go against him this week. If I were to go for anyone else, it'd be Harry Kane, and that's it. And in the future, let's wait and see what are the captaincy, differentials we can go for. But it's also about the players you bring in, the combination of players, and keep on playing your game and going for who you think scores the most points. Thank you, Lager. Thank you, Dave. And yeah, hopefully we can get to 19,000 before the end of the season. That is the aim. And also, I think by pre-season and going into the beginning of next season, 20,000 subscribers will definitely be the aim, and we can definitely achieve that. Yeah, like I said, we're saying just now, the plan is to do a UCL Fantasy stream on Tuesday. So if I'm able to, I will do it, and hopefully the internet is decent by then. So yeah, that will be the plan. And also to do some videos for UCL Fantasy, and also a free hit video for Gameweek 32 and the team selection for FPL. But thank you to everyone for watching. I appreciate all the support. Take care. Enjoy the football. Good luck for Gameweek 31. If you've got any more questions, leave them in the comment section down below, or put them in the Discord server or Twitter or Instagram. And I'll see you very soon. Good luck.